This is a three subset question. It says in a group of 120 customers, 72 of them bank with First Bank, 65 banked with Trust Bank, and 53 bank with Hallmark Bank. If 35 of the customers banked in both First and Trust banks, 30 banks in both First and Hallmark Bank, 21 bank in both Trust and Hallmark banks, and each of the customers bank with at least one of the three banks. Draw a Venn diagram to illustrate this information. How many customers bank in all three banks? How many customers bank in exactly one of the three banks? How many customers bank in two or more of the banks? So we're going to work on this problem. First, please bring out all the information possible from the question. So the universal set here will be U, which is 120. Now, since this is the total number of customers, so that is it, the universal set there. Now, another thing is the banks. So we have 72 of them bank with First Bank. So we'll say number of First Bank, 72. 65 with Trust Bank. So number of Trust Bank, 65. Then 53 for Hallmark. So number of Hallmark, 53. So now they said if 35 banks with both First and Trust Bank, so number of First and Trust Bank, so intersection Trust Bank is 35. Then it says 30 banks in both First and Hallmark, so number of First and Hallmark is 30. And they say 21 for Trust and Hallmark, so number of Trust and Hallmark is 21. Okay. Now, if each of the customers bank with at least one of the three banks, draw a Venn diagram to illustrate this information. Okay. So let's draw a Venn diagram first. So they're giving us the information for almost everything except the number of those that bank in all three banks. So, and that is the question for B. So all three banks will be the First Bank intersection, the Trust Bank intersection, the Hallmark Bank. So if we draw a Venn diagram, we'll have something like this. So this is a Venn diagram. So we have the First Bank here, the Trust Bank here, Hallmark Bank here. So the First Bank, I think, is 72. Trust is 65. Then Hallmark is 53. So First Bank is 72. Trust is 65. Hallmark is 53. Okay. Now, what other information do we have? Okay, the universal is 120 though. But we have the intersection between the First Bank and the Trust Bank, 35. The intersection between the First and the Hallmark Bank, 30. And Trust and Hallmark is 21. Okay, so let's see if we can put that in. First, we know the universal is 120. Okay, and we know that we do not know the intersection for all three, so here would be X. Now, they say First and Trust is 35. So that means here will be 35 minus X. Right? First and Hallmark is 30, so here will be 30 minus X. And Trust and Hallmark is 21, the intersection, so you'll be 21 minus X. Now, while we're writing this, anyway, let me check the information first. First and Trust is 35. First and Hallmark is 30. Okay, so I'm on track there. So while we're writing 35 minus X, 21 minus X, we've explained this before. Now, the intersection between First and Trust Bank is 35. So that is everything here. So everything here is the intersection, which is 35. But since here is already X on the intersection, and we already know that the sum of this part and this part here that is only for First and Trust Bank will actually give us the 35. So for us to be able to write out this empty part here, we have to write 35 minus X. And if you see 35 minus X plus the other X there, will actually give us just 35, which is the whole intersection. We've explained this in greater form in other videos before, but this is still a general explanation. The Venn diagram was formed. Now let's go to other questions. How can we find the customers banked in all three banks? Now, all we need to do is to use the formula. Take note, this is what we're looking for. We need to use the three subset formula. If you remember the formula, it will be easier for you. The formula says that the union of all three banks, so the first, union the trust, union the hallmark bank is equal to each of the banks, so number of first plus number of trusts plus number of hallmark, and then we'll subtract all the intersections minus number of first intersection trust minus number of first oh wow, I mistakenly person something there, minus number of first intersection hallmark minus number of trust intersection hallmark. Then we're going to add the intersection for all three, so that's number of first intersection trust intersection hallmark. Alright, so that's the formula. We already know that here this is 120. That is for the number of customers. The total number of customers is 120. The first bank, number of those in first bank, the customers is 72, plus trust bank is 65, then plus hallmark is 53. Now if we subtract the intersection of first and trust, that'll be minus 35. We subtract the intersection of first and hallmark, that'll be minus 30, and this will be minus 21 for trust and hallmark, and we have to add x because we do not know the number of customers for all three. If we know this now, we'll be able to solve for x and get our answer. So let's work for that. So this is 120 equal to 72 plus 65 plus 53. That gives us 190 minus 35 minus 30 minus 21. That is minus 86 and plus x. Okay, so this will be 120 equal to 190 minus 86. That is 104 plus x. If we move 104 to the other side, we'll have x is equal to 190 minus 104. So x therefore would be equal to 86. Is that 86? 16, sorry. Let me write that one. 16. Alright. I wrote 190 minus 104 instead of 120 minus 104, so I think that's why I said 86. So let me correct that now. Okay, so 120 minus 104, that's equal to 16. So the number of students, customers that banked in all three is 16. But that's not all. Now let's go back. The question also says, how many customers banked in two or more of the banks? Two or more. Okay, no, they started with exactly one. Okay, so let's start with that. Exactly one of the three banks. Exactly one of the three banks. But first, let's update our Venn diagram. Now, the Venn diagram now will become, since we already now know this is first bank, this is trust bank, this is hallmark bank. Here now is 16, right? Here was initially 35 minus x. But now 35 minus 16 will give you what? That'll give you 19. Here was 30 minus x, but 30 minus 16 now will give you 14. Here was 21 minus x, and 21 minus 16 now will just give you 5. Okay, so the question is, how many banked in exactly one of the three banks? So they're asking how many people banked in only First Bank, and only Trust Bank, and only Hallmark Bank. So if you get the ones for only First Bank, the ones for only Trust Bank, and the ones for only Hallmark Bank, or add them all together, you get the number of those that banked in exactly one of the three banks. So only First Bank is this part here. The same thing for Trust and Hallmark Bank. So you get that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the part that is associated with First Bank, which is 19, 16, and 14. We'll add them together and subtract it from 72. That will give us only First Bank. So that'll be 72 for First Bank. 72 minus 19 minus 16 minus 14. So that'll be 72 minus 49. So that'll be equal to 23. For Trust Bank, I'm going to have 65 minus 19 minus 16 minus 5. So this is it here. This part, and this part. They're all associated with Trust Bank, as you see here. Okay, so 65 minus that, we'll have 65 minus 40. So that will be 25. Then for Hallmark Bank, we'll have 53 minus everything here. 14, 16, and 5. Minus 14, minus 16, and we'll subtract 5 also. So that will be 53 minus 35. And everything will just give us 18. Okay, so now we've gotten for each of them the individual banks. So for First Bank only, we've gotten 23. For Trust Bank only, 25. For Hallmark Bank only, 18. So now if we add all of them together, we should get the number of customers that banked in only one of all the three banks. So we'll just have for only one, we have 25 plus 23 plus 18, and that will be 66 customers. But the question also tells us that there's more. We need to find two or more of the banks. So how many people banked in only two banks, but also more than just two banks? So meaning that we're looking at only two banks and also three banks, because two or more is that. Now going back to the Venn diagram, you see that only two banks is for First Bank and Trust Bank. Only two banks, we have just 19 here for only First and Trust. For only First and Hallmark, we have here just 14. For only Trust and Hallmark, we have here just 5. And for all three, we have here 16. So if we add 14 plus 19 plus 5 plus 16, we'll be able to get the answer for two or more banks. Just understand the point that the number of customers that banked in only First Bank and Trust Bank is 19 customers. We were able to solve that. You notice that the intersection or the customers banking both First and Trust Bank naturally is 35. But we're able to isolate the value for only First and Trust Bank when we say 35 minus x, which was 35 minus 16, and we've got 19. So that is it. So we'll just add 19 plus 16 plus 14 plus 5 to get the answer to that question. So that is what we'll do here. So for two or more, we're just going to say 19 plus 16 plus 5 plus what again? 14, right? I think plus 14. Let me check it. All right. So this will give us equal to 54. Let's check it out. 19 plus 16 is 35. 35 plus 5 is 40. 40 plus 14 is 54. All right. So this is the answer. And this is exactly how you work on three subset problems. It's a little bit challenging, but you can actually work on it if you follow these steps closely and bring out all the parameters first. Try to know what you're looking for, and you actually get your answer.